Just gonna say,
Got it.
okay,
Yep.
now it's live. Amazing. Let me
Okay.
just check
Awesome.
if we are actually live, because it's never.
Can't always trust what you're told.
Yeah. How can I check this? Aha. Okay. Let me just check. All right, it's there. Great. Awesome. So today's topic is going all in with coding.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a subject that I'm really attracted to going all in with achieving a goal and being quite manic and quite obsessed with something. I think I think it's gonna be very interesting to see what you have to say or to hear
Sure.
what you have to say about it, because we are kind of different, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I think it's gonna be a
But
very fruitful conversation.
there are some crossovers too in our
Yes, for sure.
behaviors and philosophies for sure.
Wait. Oh,
So,
sorry. Sorry. Oh, yeah. Go for it. Go for it.
so yeah, with my concept and why I wanted to bring up going all in on coding comes from recent experience over the last sort of 3 years, and also the combination of the fact that coding is a big challenge.
Hmm.
But I think it can reflect to anything that you want to try and see if it's for you, which is a very important thing to think about when you're going for something, because it's almost like you're going in for a trial period, right? Like you think you want to do coding, but what actually is that? And it could be with any sort of change in perhaps career or any change in lifestyle. And personally, it's been better for me to really focus on a single change intensively in over a shorter period of time. I think if people think about coding and they say, "Oh, I'm just gonna have a dabble, have a little go here and there," on the weekends I'll do a couple of hours here and a couple of hours there. You could spend 2, 3, 4 years trying to figure out if coding is for you. But if you sit down and say, "Okay, I think I like this. I'm not sure. I've done maybe a free course here or there, but I'm going to commit 6 months of my life to finding it out." Now, the object is to learn coding and potentially then move into it as a career or something that you can create money from. But the initial stage is actually, is this the right fit for me?
Hmm.
And you can do that in a lot less time if you decide, and a lot more effectively if you decide to go all in.
I want to add something to that. So one of my friends actually, he's also looking to branch out of coding because he did his thing. He made the money that he wanted and whatnot. And my advice for him was to try all the scammy products that he's getting ads about, if that makes sense, just
Yeah,
so he can see like what's out there for him to try, because he has time, he has money, and he's location independent, so he has the freedom to try. And I told him
yeah,
like just try stuff and see, don't commit to anything yet, but just see what's out there for you. Because
yeah,
initially he started with coding because he saw this as the opportunity. But when you learn a skill and when you go all in, like he did years ago, um, you develop other character traits that will help you, achieve other tasks in the
yeah.
future. But I really love going all in with your goals. So if I can share something personal,
Sure.
I recently broke up with my girlfriend. Amazing woman, 10 out of 10. Man would kill over her. But I broke up with her because I have to go all in here. So I deleted everyone that is not related to Developer Pro. There is no friend, there is no hanging out, there is no. I even made an account on Tinder, and I'm like, I'm swiping, trying to figure out what to say, choosing the right pictures. It's like, what am I doing? You know what I mean? I'm not going all in. And I remember when I was learning code, I was literally coming from work, taking off my clothes, going in my birthday suit, opening my laptop and started coding right away. There was no, let me go to toilet, let me make a sandwich, none of that. Just go for it. No waste, zero time. I didn't have like, oh, today I'm gonna code 2 hours. No, I was coding all the hours. There was no other thing that I was doing. I was like so obsessed with getting it done, and not because I was, passionate about coding, but not because I don't know. You know how people say, oh, you need to be passionate about something to get it done. I think that passion comes with time, and it comes from like that reinforcement of like, I do something good happens out of it. I do something good happens out of it. And then stacking up 2 days, 3 days, 5 days, 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, you keep stacking those pieces. And at some point, the scale tilts in your favor. And that helped me go even more all in, right? Because I saw all this progress. Whoa, I've done all this, even though it was small at that time. I was like, okay, if I've done all this, then all this time that I've spent or invested doing this was worth it. So let me keep doing this, like blindly trusting the process and blindly. Oh, I also broke up with a girlfriend back in the day, so that's like a common thing for me. Whenever I have to do something, I break up with a girlfriend. But that's another, I have like a bunch of, casual victims as I'm trying to achieve certain goals. But yeah, that's and I like it, to be honest. I like going all in, into different things. That's why I don't have hobbies, for example, because I was thinking to go to Muay Thai. I was speaking
You were
about it.
talking about that.
I went to it and I was like, this is cool. But the problem is that if I would have leaned into that, then I would be like, okay, let me buy the shorts. Let me go there 5 days a week because I want to kick this guy's ass. This guy from the gym is bigger than me because he's taking a bunch of steroids. I need to be able to at least kick his ass. So I'm going to go to Muay Thai even more. Then I'm going to train harder in the gym. So it's like, I need to stay away from that. You know what I mean? Like when I go all in into something, I really go all in. So that's
Other
why I need
things
to
get
eliminate
sacrificed,
everything.
right?
Yes. Yeah. Do you have something like this? Do you have
I wouldn't say that I get so obsessive that I make, like I cut people out for sure. I would say that's quite extreme, but it's that commitment of what you're going to achieve. And it's making that decision for me. So it might not be every hour because it might not be every single waking hour of the day that I'm going to spend coding, but I am going to do what it takes to get far enough down to know whether this is going to work for me or not, and take what I can and try and move as quickly as possible as well through it. But then, for example, you're still going to the gym, right? So you've got that aspect. So there are aspects of your life that you bring in so that you're not just sitting on the laptop doing Developer Pro from, 16 hours of the waking day. But it's for me, there's going to be people, and so it's about removing the stuff that isn't very necessary in their life that takes a lot of time and making that time available for whatever you've decided. But it's also more of a shout out actually to people that are interested in coding, but they're going through, or interested in anything and just having a go. Because I think that when you're trying to make a big shift, having a go is just kind of, it's just massaging yourself as to I'm trying, it's difficult, it's challenging, life's busy, and it just opens you up to lots of excuses, but you can also pretend that you are having a go. And then you can just turn around and say, oh, well, it wasn't really for me because it was too difficult, or I couldn't make the time. Whereas if you want to try different things in life, you want to expand into different areas, I think you will incorporate some of them in your life over time and be able to dedicate less time to them. But at the beginning, carve out that commitment over a shorter period of time, 6 months to a year, and figure out if this is really for me,
Hmm.
and I'm going to get to the point where there's going to be lots of struggle and I want to give up and I'm going to keep going and I'm going to keep going. And then I'll be able to really say, like 4 months down the line, if you've coded consistently through your weekends and through the weekdays, as at least sort of 3 days a week, 4 months down the line, you're at a good point where you can turn around, look back at it and say, how was that? Have I enjoyed the process? Do I like what's ahead of me? Do I think this is for me? Whereas if you spent 2 years coming in and out of it, maybe got 2 months break, then you start again, and it took you 8 months to get out of HTML and CSS, that's not effective.
I agree with you 100%. Do you know about the idea of seasons?
You talked to me about this before.
Yeah,
I think it'd be good to explain it to
this is a
people.
beautiful concept. So basically, like, I think most people do not operate in seasons. They just do whatever life throws at them. And I think it's fine if that's what you want. But if you don't want that, and if you want to achieve a goal, it can be coding, it can be learning marketing, it can be learning design, it can be anything. So this is not really specific to coding. It's for everything, and it's just a framework of thinking. So you need to decide, like, hey, what is the priority? As we were talking today, right? You can say, oh, this is a priority. No, there is a priority, right? One thing. And then, as Miwara was saying, like, she makes everything revolve around coding,
Yes.
right? So you need to figure out, okay, what is the priority right now? So for the purpose of this channel, the priority for most people is to learn code to get a job. So then you need to make an agreement with yourself that you'll have a season of 6 months, maybe a year, maybe let's stretch it to 2 years, where everything you do every day, pretty much, to a certain extent. Obviously, if you are tired, take a day off. Don't quit, take a break, 1 day, 3 days,
Very
four
different. Yeah.
days, whatever.
Very different.
But that season is dedicated towards building up your skills to achieve that goal. And then once you have that goal, you can take a step back, maintain what you have, and then you can figure out, okay, now that I achieved this goal, my wife left me, the kids don't love me, now you go and fix that. So then you have a season of fixing up your family issues. Then you do that, then you realize, oh, I got fat in the process. Now it's the season for me to get in shape. You know what I mean? So then, because I built up my skills, now I can have a job. Maybe I can work on a side project. I have the family support. Now I can hire a coach to get myself in shape properly. I can dial in my nutrition and so on and so forth. So you have like these different seasons. And another interesting thing is that if I want to grow in the gym or in coding or in whatever, the hardest part is growing, right? But the easiest part is maintaining, right? Because once you get to that point where you are a mid-level developer, you don't need to code after work to get better. You get better because you do it anyway for 6-8 hours a day. So you can keep maintaining forever if you want, and you'll naturally progress or evolve slower, because it's like being natural in bodybuilding. After the first 3 years, you got your newbie gains right now, but then with time you'll get less and less muscle mass, right? It's the same with coding, or with any other skill. Then you maintain that, and then you work on other things at the same time, so that's how I view this.
Yeah, and I like the seasons. I'm a bit reluctant about thinking about relationships and allowing them to truly suffer, especially if you've got kids and
It's different, yeah, of course. I
long-term
don't know.
partners, finding that balance, but bringing them to an understanding of making these commitments for all of us and communicating clearly with the people around you that you want to have on board as you grow through this. To say, hey, there's going to be certain sacrifices, but this isn't a solo venture. This is a venture for all of us.
Yeah, true.
And so then you can make it clear, as opposed to just, oh, what's happened to dad? He keeps coming back from work and he's locked in his room and he doesn't
Mm.
talk to us, and that's weird. This open communication is clear, is
Yes.
so important. But that's also communicate. But then if you're someone without kids and without a relationship, that also goes to communicating with all relationships you have. So I say intimate relationship with a partner, right? So with your friends, perhaps your friends are still in that situation where they want to go out on the Friday and Saturday.
Hmm.
Now, friends are seasonal too at times. There's some that stay for life and there's some that come and go. But the friends that will stay will be the ones that say, hey, that's great, man. We won't invite you
Mm.
out every Friday. We won't pester you every Saturday. Let us know when you want to come out and we'll check in from time to time if we don't hear from you, just because we love you. And they'll support you on that journey. So it's also setting up those kind of rules for the people around you that know
Hmm.
what you're doing. And that can be quite tricky because uh, not everybody wants to go down this route of growth. And like you said, they're quite happy going along with life. And that's great for some people. If that works, that works. But this intense period of commitment into something new can create a lot of questions. People think maybe you're working too hard or you're a bit stressed out. And it's great to have those alarm bells, but also if you're really trying to push yourself and grow, there are going to be times when you're looking like you're an abnormal individual.
Hmm.
You're pushing yourself too hard, and actually it's what you need to do to get through the challenges that you're facing right now in your coding venture or whatever. So there's multiple things with this going all in that you need to take a step back and think about who's involved in this, if it's beyond just you, and what is it that I want to grow into. And then the big thing, I think, as well, which perhaps might be why people dabble for so long without fully committing, is because there's this fear of failure. There's this
Hmm.
fear of telling people, oh, it didn't work out. And they were like, wow, you spent 6 months, you spent 1 year doing all that, and it came to nothing, because it doesn't ever come to nothing. Quick side.
Hmm.
But you have to kind of let go of that and say, hey, I'm going to give it my best shot. And you know what? If it doesn't work out, I'm never starting over again, because I
Hmm.
never go back to where I was. I've picked up all these different skills, all these different experiences, connected with all these different people. And then when I take the next iteration and move into the next thing, I have all this experience behind me. So then I can go in all in on the next thing
Hmm.
and just have another go. So,
It's going to
that
reinforce the idea that you can achieve something. That was the case with me with making music. I made music. I went all in, not as all in as I could, but at that moment I was thinking that I was going all in. But that taught me how to commit to something, and then I took that experience and then I applied it to coding.
mm.
You know,
But I think as well, it's because there is a potential to fail.
of course.
And, from my experiences of what I've tried in the past with trading, foreign exchange, and setting up an online life coaching business, right? Like I failed at succeeding in both of those, but the way I attacked coding when I made that decision would never have been so effective without having done those two things and
Hmm.
without having all that information behind me. And now that I'm at the point where I could even just create my own businesses, all that stuff that I felt was a wasted
Waste.
energy is actually coming in to be useful again.
Hmm.
Because if I tried coding 3 years ago, that would have been a totally different experience. And so,
It wasn't the right season, right, for you.
yeah, for that at least, yeah, I never even thought about it. I didn't even know what coding was last year.
Mhm.
Didn't know what they did. Didn't know what people did. And now I'm building React apps and getting people on LinkedIn saying that they really like learning from a professional, which made me laugh a lot. So but the going is like, it's having that no fear. You're not attached to getting the outcome you expect, because there's always going to be really great outcomes if you commit to something and give your all and be open to the lessons. There's always going to be great things that come into your life that you never even expected. So knowing that, okay, that single goal might not happen, but there's at least some great things that will.
How do you recognize the difference between I'm trying to figure out how to ask you this question, right? Because how do you recognize the difference between fear of failure and comfort zone?
That's a very good question.
Because I'll tell you why. Because I've tried different things in the past that are irrelevant to the conversation, and maybe looking back, I know I failed at those things because I didn't commit to them, but I never thought I was afraid of failure. How can I say? I'm trying to figure out how to put it. I never went all in, even though I've committed financially and with time. And because of that, I failed. So it became like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Mm.
And I'm thinking, was I feeling afraid of failure, or I was stuck in the comfort zone, or I wasn't ready to move to the next level, or I felt like an imposter? Probably like many people might have this problem and they don't even realize it, because I didn't realize it.
So there's the fear of failure. There's pushing yourself outside of the comfort zone, and the third thing throwing in is knowing when it's not right for you. I think it was Stephen Bartlett, the Diary of the CEO podcast host, who talked about knowing when to quit. And I'd say that there's kind of three separate sections there. So fear of failure, pushing yourself out of the comfort zone, and then knowing, okay, this is when we quit. So the fear of failure, when it comes to something that isn't life-threatening or endangering other people, that's just a construct in the mind, from what I understand, at least. And so that fear of failure is often that coming from the external opinions, your fear of what other people are going to think. So, for example, here we go. Okay, so when I was trying to cut down on the amount of alcohol I drank, I would really struggle when I went out to a bar and I was like, I'm not gonna have a drink tonight. And it was a real fight, because deep down, I kind of felt like I probably was gonna end up having one or two. And then I felt like people would look at me and be like, "Hey, you said you weren't drinking, now you are drinking, and now you're really drunk." And so there's gonna be that shame. Whereas now I just don't drink. Like there's no fear of failing in that aspect. It's like, I don't do it, I'm not gonna do it. I go into a bar, I don't care if I'm in a bar or not.
And I guess even
It's just
if
not
you
happening.
drink, you'd be like, oh, cool, a beer.
Right. But
It wouldn't be like, oh, this big deal, oh, I'm a failure and whatever.
yeah,
That's
even
how
if I step back in and had a beer now,
yeah.
it wouldn't be a failure, but there is just kind of no fear. I have trust in myself. But also, if I chose to have a beer, I wouldn't care what other people thought, because it would that the shame isn't there. Whereas I was ashamed of how I drank before, and so therefore I felt like people would judge me for it, for not holding my worth, right? Holding my
Okay, but
word.
what if okay, let's say I think this is a good topic, right? Shame. Um let's say it would be someone, a friend from the program, right? and they are single, they don't have commitments, they're not having social pressure and whatnot, and they would still feel that shame. Why do you think they would feel that shame? Because I assume they would still feel it. That shame doesn't have to come from having other people shame you. It can be yourself shaming yourself.
You shame yourself, or you think that other people are going to change their viewpoint on you. And so that, I believe it's about that perception that others have on you, and it's challenged your ego and your sense of self, your sense of identity. So when you turn around in 8 months' time, after having never gone out for 8 months of weekends, and you've really worked hard on your coding, and you've got to say 8 months' time, and you've gone, do you know what? It's not for me. It's not for me. And you go down the pub with your mates, and they're like, hey, man, why aren't you working for Microsoft? And they'll take the mick at you and ask all this. And then people who haven't gone through this process will look at it slightly differently to people who have gone through this process, because they'll look at it and be like, oh, well, you wasted 8 months of your life. We went here, we've done this, we've done that, blah, blah, blah. And they won't see everything that you've gained in those 8 months.
And you don't see it either, probably.
You don't see it either, right? You have to go quite a long way in life before you start to see those kind of gains. It was a bit like, and here we go with the fitness again. I was learning to do some squat move, a pistol squat in the gym with my trainer. And I was saying, do you know what? When I started out of this journey with you, I would have been a bit annoyed because I feel these are easy and not really stressing me out. But now I know that I'm just training my body to move in a certain way. And I'm excited for what's going to be in 2 months' time, because I know how quickly the body can adapt and how quickly it can learn. So
you have that trust. You have that you have that trust in yourself and in the process. Right? You blindly trust it.
You can turn around, say, like, just do the 8 month marker, for example, because I think that's a good chunk of time to dedicate to coding, 8 months to a year, to see if it's you. And you're like, wow, okay, how amazing. I learned so much, and I had the strength to say, this isn't right for me. Where can I take that strength and apply it next? What lessons have I got from me? But that comes from that commitment of going all in on a particular task, on a particular thing, because you end up making lots of sacrifices. You end up pushing through the struggle. You end up doing the things that you don't want to do. So you don't get that when you dabble, because you only kind of do it when you want to do it. And so there's none of the personal growth that comes with it.
And the interesting part, when you actually go in, let's say you lose the motivation for coding, you realize, hey, maybe this coding thing is not for me. But as you did the work, you found other problems, right? Because most people say, oh, I want to start a business. But to start a business, that means you have to solve a problem. But if you don't try anything, how are you going to find the problem? You're going to open another donut shop. Like, you're not going to make any money with that. You know what I mean? But if you try different things, you find different problems, either your problems or someone else's problems. And then coding kicks in, or then the discipline kicks in that you've learned over the past 8 months, or that research ability kicks in, right?
Absolutely.
And if you have those friends that make fun of you, those friends are stuck in high school, because I know what you're talking about. In high school, everyone was making fun of me. Oh, you waste all your time making music, ha ha ha. And they are not great in life right now, you know.
It can come, especially, I mean, this happens especially when people try and change their alcohol intake, is because people are afraid of you looking different to what they are. So, our actions are a mirror to everyone else. And which is why sometimes when you have peers that drink and you've drunk for a long time, you turn around and say, I don't want to drink tonight. And they try and pressure you. They're not pressuring you because they want you to drink. They want to feel good about drinking themselves. And so,
right. Oh, snap. this hit me, bro, like a fucking rock. Sorry for swearing on my own podcast, our podcast. Yes, bro. Jesus, this needs to be noted on a t-shirt. Someone put some orders on Redbubble, I think it's called. Yes, bro, this is deep. Now everything makes sense.
Right.
Crazy, bro.
So
Wow.
that can be powerful when you've tried to make change and other people are trying to pull you back to where you were. Understanding that it's not about you, it's not about your identity, your ego, or being shamed. It's about them and the mirror you're holding up to them and how they're behaving with you.
And then you need to understand them and not try to fight with them, just brush it off.
Absolutely.
Like,
Absolutely.
yeah, bro, haha, the Bill
Yeah, I
Gates didn't
failed,
call me. Yeah. I changed my
I
number. That's
failed.
why, haha, or I blocked him
Right.
on WhatsApp. Yeah. Yeah, you brush it off, they'll laugh
You
and then
know?
they'll forget about it. They won't be going to bed thinking like this fucker is not coding anymore or like he
Mm-hmm.
quit
Mm-hmm.
coding or something.
They'll be
No,
gone on
they
to the
don't care.
next
Yeah.
thing, right? But
It's just
also
some
it's, you know,
banter.
your social group can be seasonal too. And as you grow and change, it can be tough because there's people that you're really fond of, but they're on a certain way of life and you're no longer with that. So therefore you end up moving on from those and feeling like you shouldn't feel like you're having to adapt back to the way you were just to keep friendships because true I have my two oldest friends of all time have stayed with me through everything. I knew both from school, one's when I was 14, one's 16. And one guy's high flying finance guy, the other guy's actually a web developer.
Mm-hmm.
And
Ah,
through
that
all
guy.
my travels and all this goings on, all our different lives, our lives are so different,
Mm-hmm.
but we've always been there for each other and supported whatever each of us is doing and how we're growing and evolving. And there's
Mm-hmm.
never ever been a case of, we don't want to be with you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So the right people around you will be there for you. And those that haven't, amazing, man. We had a great time in life. I appreciate that. I would love you always, but we're just going off now.
Mm.
This is my exit gate. That's yours. It's the way it is.
Yeah. Let's go back to going all in. um what's your opinion on the problem is that we have a lot of target audiences here. You know what I mean?
Mm,
We have 20-year-olds that have no responsibilities. We
mm.
have crazy guys like me. Then we have more moderate guys like you. Then we have people with families. Then we have
Hmm.
people with
Hmm.
families
Hmm.
and jobs. How would you suggest, let's say, like an overall strategy for those people to figure out how they could go all in? Because
Well,
the reason
yeah.
why I'm asking is because sometimes there is this story from Hormozy, right? Again, I love this guy, but he
Good
said
guy.
his mentor told him, hey, if you want to advertise your gym, you need to make flyers and give flyers to people so people know about your gym, right? And he said, okay, fine. He did 300 flyers, and then he came back to his mentor and he said, we did the flyers, but it didn't work. And the mentor said, okay, how many flyers did you hand out? He said 300. And the guy said, 300? We do, he did 300 in a week. And the guy said, we do 5,000 in a day. Right? So the reason why I'm saying this is because people don't even know that it's okay to work harder. You know what I mean? Like, I had this as well, I didn't know like how hard I'm supposed to go, or like it's okay to go harder. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm a little bit
Like
hesitant.
I don't know. in terms of like, hey, what are the limits that we can actually push
Mm.
to, because sometimes you don't even know what is the actual limit.
Well,
And,
that's a good way of doing it. Yeah.
and you don't even realize that, oh, actually, I can do more
Hmm.
without killing myself, but I can do more. But I never thought I can do more, or like I'm allowed to do more. I thought that I'm supposed to do it for 1 hour per day, but in fact,
Mm.
I have 5 hours where I could actually do this. But
Sure.
somehow I've told myself that I should be doing this for 1 hour. You know what I mean? And then I'm limiting
Yeah.
myself. Like in this way, I'm trying to describe it.
I understand, and I think that's a good thing is to push in your limits and knowing what your limits are and when you're stretching them and being sensitive to that. And for all these people with all these different various freedoms in life or constraints in life, well, I'm always a little bit hesitant about the whole going to the extremes, hustle, hustle,
Mhm.
because I've just actually recently been able to deal with an anxiety that I've had, which was feeling that I've never done enough in a
Mhm.
day. And I realized it's actually tracked me for many, many, many years. And it got worse as I've gone into this kind of pursuit of things over the last 3 years, this online world. So I've had to acknowledge what I'm doing, but I also acknowledge that there's areas in the day I was like finding I was coming back from the gym and I was kind of stalling between eating food, getting showered, and getting to the laptop. And it was partly because I was getting used to the intensity of the workouts. But a recent exercise that I've come to and lost and gone away from several times is that time blocking of the day, because I've actually had to train myself to love looking at my calendar and seeing I've blocked out all the times through the day, because someone who's described as more empathetic and like an empath as such and go with the flow, more fluid, used to just
Mhm.
give me massive anxiety.
Mhm.
And I've got to completely train, and that's come from doing forex trading and trying to run my own business. I've had to retrain what I'm comfortable with and what I enjoy doing and my perception of all these things. So, you know, knowing where you can push yourself, also looking at how you're actually spending your day. So where are the hours going? Where are the bits that you could tighten it up a little bit and, cut down on, like you said, you came straight in, you went into your coding. Now, do you definitely need that half an hour when you get in from work to sit down on the sofa and put the TV on? Or nowadays we have our phone and flick through Instagram. Like, do you really, really need that? Or could you make it so exciting that you're pursuing this venture that you're eager to get home and you're eager to get started? You're eager to run up, have a shower, get changed, and get straight on with it if that's what you want to do, however you want to do it. But it's having the energy to move from task to task because you see the excitement and value in them, as opposed to needing that, oh, this is a bit of a drag here and this is a bit of a drag there. So to go to all these people's different lives who are listening and different responsibilities is just figure out what you're doing in your day. You can do time audits. Some people like to track it, spend a week writing down every 15 minutes what they're doing. I prefer kind of just being honest with myself and seeing, or even just try and plan a day and see how good you are at planning time and see how good you are at sticking to it. That would work better for me, because as soon as I start time blocking and I see, oh, I planned to do this for 2 hours, but actually I spent 2.5 on it, and then I didn't start that till I was 15 minutes too late, and da 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 da. And you can start to see where you're overestimating things in life, where you're
Yes.
wasting time,
Yeah.
and then it's about pushing your limits.
To become more efficient and
More
effective. But
efficient.
later, that happens later.
That happens later. It's trial and error, but try to fit it in. If your life is really busy, then take an honest look at it and try and find the gaps where you're kind of just dragging your heels a little bit from one moment to the next. Um, or you're, like I've said this before about, being a night owl or an early bird, if you're kind of like crashing on the sofa and then spending an hour flicking on your phone or watching rubbish TV, that could be an hour that you're asleep, and that hour you could get up earlier, and that hour that you could spend on coding.
Okay, I agree with this. But then people like really need to be honest with themselves and say, am I really busy, or this is not the priority for me?
Absolutely.
Right? Because I do stuff all the time. And then, to be honest, I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm super productive all day.
Yeah.
Yesterday night, I was watching YouTube shorts, and those stupid videos that destroy your brain dopamine receptors. I was frying my brain for real for like 30 minutes, 1 hour, and I really enjoyed it. I was like, let me
Great.
fry my brain.
Yeah.
And then I
Yeah.
did that, and I was like, this is perfect.
Yeah.
But I didn't blame myself after, like, oh bro, I should have done this. No, I've done the stuff that I wanted to do. I filmed all those. I filmed so many videos about closures until
Mm.
I didn't have any more examples, and I was like, okay, the task for the most important thing for me today was to make those sets of videos. I've accomplished them. So whatever I do right now, it's extra. I went to the
Yeah.
gym, I did this, that, the coaching calls, blah blah blah, and then I can fry my brains. But if you are
Hmm.
really really busy, like if you are working 9 to 5, then you need to go 1 hour to the gym, come back. It's gonna take 4 hours. Then, you have boxing after the gym. Then you have the kids. Then you have to meal prep. Then you have to do this. Then yes, maybe you have to remove maybe the boxing, maybe the gym, right? Maybe you
Absolutely.
can do the gym at home. Do 100 push-ups in the morning, 100 push-ups in the evening. Get a pull-up bar. So I think the best thing for most people would be to actually say no to more things. Like,
Absolutely.
I'm trying right now to do exactly this because I was drinking colas. Remember, I had four
Mm.
cans of cola
Wow.
every day and Red Bulls. I was drinking 2 Red Bulls per day, 4 coffees, uh, some supplement that I was
Wow.
taking, then
Wow.
4 colas, then like,
No wonder your sleep wasn't so good.
yeah, but like the point is, okay, oh, wait. Plus you spend the money, and I'm like, okay, right now I'm drinking only water for a week.
Good.
That's my goal for this week, to say no to that stuff. You know
Say
what I mean?
no.
And
Yeah.
say no to things like, and
So,
you soon realize that, hey, it's actually not that important to do all those things that I thought they are mandatory. They are
uh-huh.
just things that you can say no to, and that's fine.
Like a good objective is just to write all that down. Write down what are you doing? And everything that is kind of batched together
Mm.
so that you can visually see what you're committing to in your life. Because yes, when you bring in something new, there are going to have to be no's. You're going to have to find that time from somewhere. But people manage it.
If they
And
want,
look at Harpreet, who's got a full-time job.
and he
He
works a
was
weird schedule.
works a weird schedule. He decided he's always been a big fan of the gym and decided, well, he's going to have to cut that out to do this. And he's already built an app that's made him more money or as much money as he invested into
Mm-hmm.
Developer Pro as a student, and he's crushing it in that respect. But he had to make those sacrifices in his life and tweak it and make the changes. And
It's
it's
that
commitment.
maturity, that much maturity.
Yeah. It also is a lot of practice. It takes practice, right? Like you're not going to get it right the first time.
Mm.
And so therefore, and this is something I'm working on, is that self-punishment, like acknowledging your wins, acknowledging what you've done well, and seeing where your growth is, because you might turn around, I used to do it, man. I listened to these videos on YouTube. Yeah, this is what I'm going to go and do, and I'm going to smash it, and I'm going to achieve it. And
Mm.
then you try for a few days, and it desperately fails, and then you feel really bad about yourself because you feel like, oh God, I can't make that work. But everything we try is just a little bit of understanding of how we ourselves work in this world and what we need to work on within us to make things successful for us, because no one else is going to do it the same way as you.
Yeah. I realize this is like This is the beginner problem, and not just in coding, in everything. So if you live the regular life, I don't want to make it like it's a bad life, but it's like the regular life of, hey, you got a job that someone gave to you without that much effort, or you've been put through the education system and you ended up in a job because like that's where you were supposed to go, if that makes sense. You didn't have
Yeah,
to work extra hard, or it just happened that you ended
just
up in there. You know what I
follow the
mean?
treadmill, as they say,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
something
So
like that.
if you end up in that position, like barista, or you've learned finance and you got a degree in finance and you're in accounting now, or you're a lawyer or whatever, you've just literally followed the steps that someone else gave you. That's kind of I would
Hmm.
frame it. If you want to get out of that and learn a new skill, change careers, start a business, learn trading, whatever you want to do, as a beginner, you need to learn how to handle your negative emotions. I would say this is the biggest thing. Like, how do you cope with those emotions, and how do you
Hmm.
stay in that seat? And you need to teach yourself to like know that those emotions will come and be prepared to deal with them when they come. I would say this is like the best advice that I could give to any beginners. I recently started I joined this random program, and there are like a bunch of like very young entrepreneurs in there, like
Mm.
16, 17,
Wow,
18,
yeah.
19. Very, very, very interesting community. And they have this 24/7 Zoom link. That's where I copied it from, the idea from
Hmm.
that guy.
Hmm.
And then I jump in there from time to time when I have nothing to do and just ask them questions to see how they think. And they all struggle with the same thing as in here. And I always tell them like, hey, just keep going and keep
Keep
thinking about
trying.
this, and you'll nail it.
Yeah.
But that's the best advice that I could give to anyone. Just
And
stay
I think
stay with.
that links in with because we didn't get to the comfort zone over the fear of failure.
Mm,
So earlier we talked about the fear of failure and the shame and that kind of it questions your ego and your sense of self. And then
mm,
pushing in the comfort zone is where things feel uneasy, where you're challenged, you're tested, you're kind of your inner voice is saying, I don't like this, I don't want to do this, but it's a different voice. It's like quieter and it's just throwing out those, you could, yeah, do you really want to do this and things like that? Because we don't like to feel stupid. We don't like to feel we can't do something. We like to feel like we're right. And so the comfort zone is that discomfort, which is going to bring up things, which negative thoughts, um, the dark side of us, the aspect, the shadow, as they call it, the unconscious beliefs or the unconscious behaviors. It's going to bring those sort of things up. And then we have to face them. Or we go back and we go into hiding, which is the comfort zone where, you can just rinse and repeat your day. You know what you're doing and you've kind of got good at wherever you're at and nothing's too difficult. You might have stressful situations and people you don't like and arguments and this and that. And that's all a sign that you haven't actually been working on yourself as for how you react to it, or a sign, not the sign. But that comfort zone is that place where, also going out of the comfort zone is that place where it doesn't feel great to be.
it's not the
Uh,
comfort zone anymore, right?
it's the it's not the comfort zone, right? It's almost very clear as to what that is, but you have to try but to know you that feeling in yourself, right? Like we can try and explain it to each person, but it goes for the same for when people ask me about pushing themselves to burn out in coding.
That's
Kind of have
not a
to do
smart
it.
idea. We are not talking about that.
No, 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 but you kind of have to go too far to know what too far is. So therefore you have to push yourself out of the comfort zone
Right.
and you
Right. I
have to
understand.
fail to know what that feeling is within you because you can kind of try
Gotcha.
and explain it, but everyone feels things uniquely.
Mm. And I guess a failure is a failure only if you give up then, because it's okay to like fail stuff. Like you go to the gym, you try to do a set,
You know?
and you can't squeeze that extra rep, and you ended up like slightly weaker than last week, doesn't mean you're gonna give up on the gym. You're gonna come next week and try to beat it, right?
Sure.
So it's what you do with that failure, how you perceive it, you know. I guess that's
Absolutely.
the point that we are trying to get across, you know.
Yeah, being okay with how things are going to work out, but knowing that you tried. And I'm not to say that, like, it's not to say that showing up is good enough.
In the beginning, yes,
Not
it's good enough, but at some point you need to progressively overload that thing and
sure,
show
you
up and
know,
do this.
I mean, it's like don't try and then just make that the excuse for not following through. You know, oh, I tried this and I worked really hard for 6 months. Like if you're trying several things, this is where I had to question myself, because I'm like, why do I get so far and then change? But if you're like a perennial starter, so you're perhaps only doing courses. So if you look back on, say, 4 or 5 years of your life and you've always done a course, but then when the course has to come to be implemented, you don't do the implementation, then you jump to another course and you jump to another course and you jump to another course. Now, courses, and that's in different things as well. Like, maybe you were doing drop shipping or whatever, and maybe you're doing content creation. But the implementation is a test, right? That's the test when our character gets put into the spotlight, because we have to make things work. But we can give ourselves the illusion of progress by constantly doing courses, by constantly trying things out to a certain point, but not actually pushing beyond that point. And that's where I say, when you're going all in, you kind of have to review at certain stages, have I gone far enough?
That's self-awareness, right?
You know, is this actually the quitting point, or is this the comfort zone that I'm now on the edge of once again? And let's keep going. Let's do another couple of months. Let's do another couple of months. Did I get this far in the last thing I tried? Okay, well, let's go a little bit further in this thing and see what happens.
Maybe I'm just plateauing as well, right? Because the first months will be where you gain the most amount of knowledge in terms of like percentage, right? And then like you get a bunch of knowledge in the first 6 months, let's say, but then you start to get less and less knowledge in terms of like new information. You are just getting exposed to more bullshit. The more you try different things, the more bullshit you encounter, but that bullshit is going to come less often the more experience you have,
Because you know what to pick. You know the battles you want to pick more.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. But every 3 months, like I remember when I was a full-time coder, I had some problem, that I couldn't overcome, and I was throwing my AirPods in the coffee shop, and I was going crazy. Like I was like that,
Yeah.
But I forgot where I wanted to go with that.
You were talking about that plateau.
Oh, yes.
And
Sometimes you're just plateauing, and it's like another test. Hey, are you gonna try to stick it through?
yeah. Keep the fires stoked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like keeping those embers going. So you're not giving up, but you just
And the thing is, bro, like I want to give this advice to anyone, like no matter if they want to work with me or not. If you choose something and if you stick with something, if you chose coding for whatever reason, right? Just think about this. What can I do to be better today? Just that. What stage am I in right now? So I've made a video. You guys can check it out. The last video I posted on my channel, the 7-8 stages of a developer. Figure out in what stage are you and try to break into the next stage. But you need to think, like you need to be self-aware, like, hey, where am I here? What do I need to do to get to the next level? And then just work on that all the time, because the time is going to pass anyway. So at least use it and have a purpose every day, you know, like that's how I'm thinking about it. Like time is
Mm.
gonna pass anyway. You're gonna be 6 months older anyway in 6 months from now.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
And in the scheme of life, if we're fortunate and blessed with a longer life, with 6 months isn't that long. 1 year is not
It's,
even that long.
it's nothing, bro.
And when you can look at what you've achieved in the growth, and like you said, it does take time. So if you're at the beginning, the important thing is to persevere and keep going and keep trying, because in time, it might be on your second or third or fourth iteration of whatever you try. It might be 1 year's time, it might be 4 years' time, but you'll start to know that the effort you're putting in today, whilst you want to enjoy it and celebrate what you're doing in the day, um, you're like, wow, this is going to be amazing for what's coming in 4 months' time. So you can really enjoy the experience of today because you know the rewards of tomorrow.
And you don't even need to think about like being super efficient or super effective. Like those things are important, you know, those are like the trifecta, right? You have efficient, effective, and making some progress.
Right?
But if you just keep making some progress, it's better than
Yeah,
being
yeah,
efficient and not making any progress, you know,
yeah,
or like being effective
yeah,
in nothing, you know, like
yeah. Yeah,
so
I'm so efficient. I can, get back from work, get showered and changed in 15 minutes and be on the sofa for the rest of the evening with my
you're
dinner
efficient.
on
Yeah.
my plate. Right? Wow, that's super efficient. So that's really true. And you're not going to be everything all at once. And when you are wherever you are, if you're growth minded and you like to push yourself, there's going to be new things coming your way. So it will take time, for at least it did for me, take a lot of time to be much more forgiving with wherever you are. But putting in the effort and persevering and being persistent with what you're doing is better than perfection every day.
Because perfection is impossible. If you can get to
Perfection's impossible, right?
50%, if you can get
Perfection's impossible.
like yeah, if you get to 50% of that perfectionism that you are thinking about, then that's better than all or nothing.
Hmm.
I think we have this black and white, you know, attitude towards things, you know, like,
Mm,
and that's the
yes,
most toxic thing, you know,
yes,
like
that
aim to
definitely.
be like 100%, but if you get to like 60%, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But at least try to get to 100%. And then you're like, oh, like I will never hear anyone saying, oh, I just went to the gym and I feel so bad about it because I didn't want to go in the first place. In
Hmm.
the worst case scenario, you just feel like proud of yourself that you went regardless of how you felt.
Hmm.
That's the worst case scenario. In the best case scenario, you feel like pumped up, you feel the veins, you know, like popping, you know, you go to the mirror and you start flexing, you know, and then
Hmm.
someone comes in and says that you're a douchebag, you know, uh, or another guy comes in and you're trying to flex your muscle and then this guy is roided out and you're like, fuck, you know, I still have some years to put in and some
But that,
injections.
yeah,
You know?
but that's like
uh,
comparing like apples and flipping rice.
spaceships.
Yeah, right. Exactly, even
No, but
better.
like at least
But
that, and
yeah,
even with coding, like, hey, cool, I didn't feel like coding, but let me fix this button. Let me make this animation a bit more interesting. At least
hmm,
that, you know, or like just cheap, find something
yeah,
that you want to build it slowly. If you are in that season of building, because there is the season of learning and the season of building, they are totally different. And I think people kind of
mm,
confuse them. But that's another discussion for another day, you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
Yeah.
But um,
I like it, bro, because I can go forever, you know. It's pretty cool.
yeah, same. I was
Yeah.
just thinking then about the only time my fitness journey, I wasn't in the gym that I wasn't happy was because I'd been drinking the night before. So I
Mm.
was in like doing some kettlebell workouts and I was hating on myself because I knew that
You could
alcohol
have
was
been better.
affecting me. So
Mm.
even though I'd stepped into the garage and picked up the kettlebells and didn't want to do it and done some jump rope, and the effort was so bad, and it wasn't. I was mad at other things.
Hmm.
and then again, it's just, it's constantly having that self-awareness and thinking, okay, well, what's this feeling coming from? And that's actually was a huge help for me to move away from alcohol but that's a whole nother story. Um,
I
yeah.
that's a good one. Like what we put in our bodies, how is that affecting us? We could talk about that next time because I also have I don't have
Oh,
alcohol problems or never had
yeah.
because I've never been interested in that. For me, it's more like food, and sugar because
Mm-hmm.
that's my addiction.
Mm.
And I also have like realizations about how food is affecting me. I don't know if I told you, but I had my friend over and we were eating bullshit every day. And
Oh, yeah.
when he left, my face felt like exploding. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And then I realized like that's how normal people feel every day. You know what I mean? Because they eat sugar, they eat all this
Yeah.
bullshit, and
But they don't know, but it's
they're
normal for them.
tired and they cannot code. So you
Hmm.
need to give up on that
Right.
because it's or eat it after you do your
Ah,
work. You know what I mean?
that would be a good one. Like how our behaviors are shaping how we are, because we often blame our external environment, and we don't realize that actually a lot of stress and fatigue and frustration and lethargy comes from the way we're treating ourselves. At least it did for
Today,
me.
today I went to take some blood samples out for tests. I was telling you. And I was like, okay, I took this blood sample out. Let me eat a fucking donut and a pizza. A slice of pizza. I ate it and I was like, you dumbass, you shouldn't eat it. And I was like, yeah, eat it. It's good, it's good, it's good. I gave in and I ate it.
Yeah,
And at 1 p.m., I was already feeling it kicking in,
yeah.
like the sleep, I felt sleepy. I was already 3 coffees in and I was
Wow.
still feeling sleepy.
Hmm.
And when I'm talking about coffees, I'm like, I drink coffees, so I
Hmm.
survive on them. But yeah, the food that I ate destroyed me. But yesterday I ate 4 eggs for breakfast with bacon, just fat and protein. I felt amazing the entire day,
Interesting.
you know? So when I give up carbs, but we can talk about this next time. When I
Mm.
give up carbs and I eat uh, clean, and when I drink enough
Oh, yeah.
water, yeah, life is totally different. It's like,
It'd be interesting that one because yeah, I've got a lot of uneducated experiences on nutrition. I'm always cautious about talking about it because having no expertise. But what we can do is
who
talk about
cares?
how it affects us individually, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Going back though to going all in, if
Mhm.
people were going to go away with one thing today, about potentially facing going all in, what would you like to leave for them?
What would I want to leave? Hmm. I would ask them what do they do in their life that they can give up or do less so they can make coding a priority. that
Cool.
that's that would be
Hmm.
what I would say now. Maybe in a year you'd ask me the same question and I would answer totally different because
Absolutely.
I changed my opinion, right? I'm self-developing, so then that means I'm changing my opinions,
Sure.
but that's what I
Yeah.
would say now.
Just like science, what we thought was flat is now round when we talk about the Earth.
Yeah,
Science is always evolving, so is our knowledge about ourselves. And
but the earth
okay,
is
so
flat, you don't know that. No, I'm joking, I'm joking.
so people could go away and take what you've said and look at their life and write down a lot of what they're doing and then put in, what's non-negotiable, what is negotiable, and then try and work out how many hours. And if there's non-negotiables, is there a way that they could shave down the amount of time that they're putting into them? Is there any leaks in the day as well? Is there any kind of gaps that they could find ways of fitting something in that either took some of their responsibilities away, moved their responsibilities into that time where they had the time leak, and then freed up time for coding, so that sort of thing. And for me, I would say that, we're all works in progress. And
That's
so
what I wanted to add as well, bro. Yep.
yeah, and that's it really. We can watch all these videos about people that are doing it, and you can look at people, but the only way you're going to figure anything out is have a go, and don't be upset by the outcome, but be driven towards the outcome.
And they need to understand that we don't know everything. So we are just giving opinions.
Yeah,
And I am definitely not perfect. I'm messing up every day.
who
And
is?
I don't let that affect me. I'm not 100% productive. I'm not some productivity guru, or like you see Ali Abdal. Oh, this is how you do this. I'm not like that guy. Probably that guy is not like that either. It's just what he shows us. And sometimes I feel like, I need to give up on everything and move somewhere and live on a beach, and that's it. Don't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like don't look at us like we are like the guys that figured everything out. We didn't. We are just doing
Not,
stuff, and we are
not
trying
even
stuff.
close.
But I want to tell this to people, because I
Absolutely.
sometimes you look at these guys on YouTube or whatever, and they seem like they have everything uh sorted
Figured
out.
out.
They live these perfect lives and whatnot. It's not like that. It's just on
No,
average they're doing everything right, but sometimes they're super productive, sometimes they're not. But that average,
absolutely.
I think that average matters, until you build some momentum.
Yeah, that average trajectory, and it's also going to be exponential, remembering that too. And that average could be for several years. You talk about people get their success in boom, it rockets, but people only see that they come to the limelight and they're only seeing like the last 2 years of 10, 15 years. So just keep trying. Always remember that, yeah, we are both works in progress that are really just talking about our own experiences, and by no way or means saying that we are the everything, because I've even feel like I've improved this week on last week when it comes to a bit of my time management.
Mm.
So, we will always have somewhere to go for improving.
I agree with this. But there is also some merit in making your achievements seem effortless. That's like one of the main rules of power.
Mm,
So if you want to play with people's minds, that's how you do it. For me, it was easy. I don't know why you
mm,
guys are struggling with this, but there are 48
interesting.
laws of power, and this is one of them. Make your achievements seem effortless, because everyone's gonna be like, how did that guy do that? You know what I mean? And that. But in fact, that guy worked every day, 16 hours a day, blah, blah, blah.
Hmm.
He wanted to quit. But at some point, he made his achievements. He never
Hmm.
complained about it, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Well, it's like, hey, when you say, look at gymnastics, right? An amazing feat of human uh, physical strength, control, power. And you see the Olympic gymnast, and they do this routine that is perfect. And it looks like they're just flowing from one move to the next.
mm,
Whereas actually, it's some of the most insanely difficult. Each move is insanely difficult and has taken years and years and years of failures and practice and training to get it to a point where it looks completely effortless. And perhaps in that moment, in their flow, it almost does feel effortless because they're in their pure flow state.
mhm.
So for them, or I'm not going to say it's easy, but it is, it's like they've done it all their life, but they haven't. They've battled to get to where they are. And so it could be, you look at Alex Hormozian, his ability, he loves to work hard. I mean, or he loves to work a lot of hours on his business. I don't want to say hard because what is hard to people? It's a subjective thing. But right now, where he is in his life, you know, everything appears easy because he's so much better at it. And that's another topic actually I would like to talk about in the future is things don't get easier, we get better.
It's just you need to get there,
Just
and
need to
you
get
need
there.
to. His wife has a very good saying: "You need to love to suck."
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Yeah,
that's the
yep,
saying. You
yep,
need to
yep,
love to
yeah,
suck at things for a long period of time,
yeah.
and after a while, you're not gonna suck so much, and then you'll be good, and people will ask you, "How did you do that?"
I literally just said that to someone today. I wish I'd released to the struggle of coding earlier because I only did so about 2 or 3 months ago,
Mm.
and I was a lot happier.
When you
If
were
you really,
struggling.
a couple of months ago, yeah, I released to it all. But if I'd done that from the start and be like, oh, okay, this is gonna be pretty miserable.
Yeah.
It would have been a lot easier.
But you've done it after what? 6 months of work? I've had the same
Uh,
thing after 3 years.
10, let's say 10 solid months.
No, but when did you have that moment after like 6 months
Oh,
of starting, right?
yeah, 6 months. Yeah, 6 months in.
I had that same moment after 3 years of doing this
Uh,
business. So you got it early,
and I got it early because of the struggle from the other things, the other ventures I'd tried.
right?
Because of,
Which were like 3 years probably as well, you know?
but yeah.
Is that maturity, man? That's what I think um, creates success, you know, being mature about and realistic and just keep showing up and trying to get better. It's
Hmm.
as simple as that. The basics. Just do the basics for a very long period of time. Do more of the basics and then you'll be good. Simple. Not easy.
No,
Cool, Ed. Then I guess that's it for this week's podcast. So
nice.
this is like the fourth episode, actually. I need to change the number, but this is the fourth episode, bro. Crazy, huh?
Hmm.
6 more, and then we'll have 10. You see, I'm good at math as well. So there you go. There you go. Cool, Ed. Then I'll
Nice
speak with
one.
you probably tomorrow, yes?
Yeah, Christian, nice one.
Thank you, Ed.
Always
Thank you,
great.
guys. Thanks for watching.